Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. And my name is Muhammad Nasyat bin Iskandar and I'm from College Professional Mara Sri Iskandar Perak. And can you introduce yourself?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Huzaifa Saeed from UIA University in Islam as IIUM International Islamic University, Malaysia.
Okay, so where are you from?
From India.
Okay, and I will continue with our interview session.
Alright.
Okay, so the first question is, how do you feel about the growing influence of English in your country?
In India, was learning English is now more important than learning our national language. In job places, job sites, they are looking for like people who are more proficient in English because they want in India there's like so many languages, so they just want one official language so that all the employees can just communicate with each other. So I think it's pretty important nowadays to learn English, and it also helps to speak with new foreign clients from different countries, international clients.
Okay, and the next question is, uh, could you describe how English first become part of your country's in educational or cultural landscape?
Uh, Sorry, my bad, bad internet. I I say at first it was English was not that important, but now it is becoming more and more prevalent. Many Indians are learning English. They can just talk with different cultures in their own country instead of being ignorant about other states.
Okay. That's all.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
for
I
the
answered it. I answered that second question also a bit in the first answer.
okay. So for the third question, how would you characterize the role and significance of English in your country today?
Uh, English nowadays, I would say pretty important. Many jobs require learning it. Especially if you go to universities, they teach English. They don't teach in their own native languages. It's it works as an intermediary between different languages, different cultures. Yeah, I think yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. And for the fourth question, do you think English words are pronounced differently in India compared to other countries?
Yes, I think Indians have their own accent where they make the D and T sound they enunciate it very loudly, so you can hear that whenever they like internet, we say internet, so you can just hear that. You can just identify if someone is Indian because of the way they speak.
Okay. Can you give another example?
Like international, I don't know. They just make the D sound and T sound very hard.
Okay. Now for our next question, how do you pronounce the R word, R sound in words such as car or far?
Oh no, for us Indians, we can pronounce car, far. But I think we put more pressure on the R compared to Americans or like naturally those who were born speaking English. They don't push that much emphasis on the R sound. Like
Can you give the other example uh, using the word that have the R sound in Indian accents?
Yeah, you can sell like stuff like spar. I say when we say R, we elongate it, spar. They can hear the R go longer.
Okay, okay. I
Bar,
understand it.
tar, many
Okay.
stuff.
So, for our second last question, do you think Indian English sounds different in tone or rhythm compared to other English accents?
I think yes, we have our grammar and I say you can. India already has like so many languages, but all of it is like similar sounding. So it was every language has their own rhythm that they naturally speak. So when they convert it, they try to speak English. It just comes out like that because they're naturally speaking like that. So instead of just don't, we said don't. We add that sound at the end.
Uh, I see. So, for our last question in our interview session, are there any English sounds that are harder to pronounce or sound different in Indian English?
Yeah. Many words that have like repeating letters are hard for me, like necessary, intelligent. Like if I am talking with someone and I'm like talking very fast, that's hard. Suspicious, conspicuous, like stuff that's repeating letters. Uh, yeah, but when if I'm speaking slowly, see, you can just see when I try to say the S word. If it's repeating too many times, I just stutter sometimes. So when I'm speaking fast and there's like a letter that's repeating many times, I stutter a bit. That's hard for me.
Uh, I think that's all for our interview session.
Thank you.
And thank you for willing to cooperate with me.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you very much. And Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikum assalam.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mama Aisy bin Saardin, ID number SEC230700773, and I am a student from College Professional Maras Sri Skandar. And today I'm going to be having an interview session with my interviewee.
Hi.
Okay, so before we start with the interview session, can we please know more about yourself?
Hello everyone. I'm Darlene Jane Lu and I'm from Philippines. And I'm 19 years old and currently studying at Santo Tomas University of Philippines.
Okay, thank you, Darlene. Okay, so we're going to proceed with the interview session. So for the first question is that, how do you feel about growing influence of English in your country?
So English is a big part of life in the Philippines and its influence keeps growing. It's widely used in schools, work, or even everyday conversations. It's great for connecting with the world, but some people worry that it's slowly replacing local language.
Okay, thank you. Could you describe how English first became part of your country's educational or cultural landscape?
So English became part of our culture and education during the American colonial period. So it was made the main language of instruction in school, and from there it spread to government, business, and media. Over time, it just became a natural part of life here.
And how would you characterize the role and significance of English in your country today?
So today, English is everywhere. It's the language of education, businesses, and even entertainment. While Filipino is our national language, English is often a go-to for professional settings and formal communication. Knowing English is also seen as a big advantage when it comes to job and opportunity.
All right, thank you. From what I've heard is that English has many sounds or words that don't exist in Philippines. Were there any particular words that were difficult for you to learn?
Yeah, there were definitely some tricky words, especially ones with sounds we don't have in Filipino, like the PH in think and this, or words with weird spellings or pronunciations, like rural and heroes were also how to get it right.
All right. In Philippines English, articles like and there are sometimes left out in sentences. For example, someone might say, I will go to mall instead of I will go to the mall. Why do you think this happens? And is it something you notice often in daily conversations?
So this happens because Filipino doesn't have articles like a or the. So when people speak English, they sometimes leave them out without realizing it. It's pretty common, especially in casual conversations. People usually drop articles more in casual conversations and informal settings like school or work. They try to be more careful with grammars.
All right, thank you, Darlene. Okay, Darlene, when do you think Filipinos are more likely to drop articles? In more formal settings or casual conversations?
So Filipinos often drop articles in casual talk since their native language don't use them. In informal settings, clarify matters more than grammar. But in formal settings, they are more careful with grammars.
All right, thank you. And last but not least, how does social class or region affect how much English people use in their daily lives?
Social class and region definitely play a role. In cities, especially among the middle and upper class, people tend to use more English, sometimes even mixing it with Filipino. In rural areas, people still speak English, but it's usually limited to school or formal situations.
Okay, thank you, Darlene. And our interview has come to an end. And that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Miss Miharu.
Oh, good evening.
I'm Adam from College Professional Mara Sri Iskandar, Malaysia. Thank you for making time for our interview session today. So, before we begin, can you introduce yourself?
Okay. Oh, I'm Miharu. I'm from Japan and graduate from high school. Now I'm a university student.
So, I will begin with our first question.
Okay.
How do you feel about the growing influence of English in your country?
I feel it's a very good trend. So this is people who can speak English very varied in Japan. So English used to be required only for liberal arts, but now it is required for science as well. English is the most important focus in Japanese education.
Thanks for sharing that perspective. Let's move on. Could you describe how English first became part of your country's educational or cultural landscape?
It came into use after World War II. During World War II, it was considered patriotic to use English. So no foreign language was allowed for children to play baseball, soccer, and so on. Probably it is only recently that English has become an active part of education and Japanese culture. I think that it has become central to our lives along with globalization.
I see. That's very insightful. Now for the next question.
Okay.
How could you characterize the role and significance of English in your country today?
I think the first is when we enter college. In recent years, English skills have been greatly valued, even encouraged. It is getting harder and harder to escape English when we are in college. The second is when we get hired. Large companies screen students for English skills as one criterion. So all college students are studying hard to get English certification. In summary, English plays a role in Japan by being used for comparative evaluation with others.
Oh, I see. I appreciate your analysis. Now on to the next point. In your experience, how would you describe the way English is spoken by many people in Japan?
Question 4. Okay. We have practiced speaking since elementary school, but I cannot speak as fast as native speakers. So many people pronounce slowly and one word clearly.
That's an interesting observation. Let's continue. What are some distinctive aspects of English pronunciation you notice in everyday conversations?
Okay, many people can distinguish between pronunciations. For example, pronunciation of L and R is difficult to distinguish for us. Also, the pronunciation of the accent varies from person to person.
Can you share examples of how local speakers adapt their pronunciation when speaking English?
Oh, Japanese don't change their pronunciation depending on who they speak English with or where they speak it. If there are Japanese who can stand it, that is a special exception. He must have he must have studied abroad.
Oh, I see. Now, last but not least, in what situations do you think these pronunciation features are most evident?
Oh, this question is hard to answer, but if I had to answer, I think it would be everyday conversation. As I said before, we always speak the same way because they cannot change their pronunciation depending on the person or places.
I appreciate your explanation on this. It really wraps up our discussion nicely. Thank you, Miss Miharu.
Thank you, Adon.
So my name is Muhammad Izuddien, and I'm currently doing an interview sessions with one of the people in the expanding country. So can you introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, my name is Muhammad Al Amin. I am a PhD student in Petroleum Engineering Department in University Technology Petronas. So I am from Libya. And do you need to know any other thing or that's it?
So can we start with our first questions?
Yes, sure.
So the first question is, how do you feel about the growing influence of English in your country?
So nowadays, I think the English is more important in my country, especially for the students how they are going to maybe continue their study abroad, outside, overseas, and also in the communication, because as you know that all the world has been connected by something called network and the social media. So most of them they use the communication from the overseas people to know each other. So nowadays, I think English is play a part as the main language for the whole world. Yeah. So that's why it is very important also for the if anyone he need to import something from China or USA, so he need to speak fluently with the English in order to understand the person that he trade with you and the one he need to sell or buy something from overseas. Yeah. So I think this day in my country, most of the young people try to learn English in order to improve themselves by some of them they need to continue their study outside or overseas, and also some of the businessmen try to go by themselves overseas to get their product from China, also from South Korea. So now, so as a conclusion, the English now it is priority for my community. Yeah?
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, could you describe how English first became part of your country's educational or cultural landscape?
Oh, so we have the first part is coming from, do you know, the people has invade our country. For example, if you give an example for India or Malaysia has been invaded by UK. So the first is coming from colonization, yeah.
Oh,
Then
colonization.
has been spread away. But I think from my humble knowledge, the English nowadays is coming from the modern life, as the English is make me and make the people is as the main language to speak to the other people outside or oversee your country. Yeah. So because I think there is two parts. The first part is coming from the people has been invaded. For example, if you have already invaded by UK, USA, so they make it as a mass language to the people inside the country in order to discuss together. And the second part, which is now for any treatment or any education or for communication with another people outside your country. So the English, I think, is be a must language to try to communicate with the another people.
Okay, thank you. So for the third question is, how would you characterize the role and significance of English in your country today?
So that the English it is more essentially, especially in education part. As we know, as I am a petroleum engineering, so in my country, the undergraduate in petroleum engineering, they must study petroleum engineering in English language. And most of the undergraduate for engineering, also for what other type of the engineering, also in the medical, they should study in the English language. Yeah, that's why it is more essentially right now to study in English. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, what would you say about the way that many people from Libya speak English?
Actually, I noticed that from my knowledge, I think the Arabic, because my main language is our language is Arabic. So Arabic can affect this, how can you speak English. So some word and some letter is similar to Arabic letter. So they will try to pronounce it as a letter in Arabic instead of pronounce it as the English letter. Yeah.
So next question is, have you noticed any specific trends or characteristic in the way English is spoken in Libya?
I see. Yeah. So as I discussed in the previous question, I think also some Arabic question is similar to the some letter in the English. So most of them they try to make uh, the like D. So most of them they try to change it and make it similar to the Arabic. When they try the first time they try to pronounce, try to accent the words, they make it similar to the Arabic. So the Arabic is most effectively in the English language speaking in my country. Yeah.
So next question is, can you provide example of Libya English pronunciation that are different from what you may expect?
So yeah, I get your point. So to be honest with that, in this part, I think Arabic they didn't have any problem, a lot of problem with the pronunciation, because you know that the Arabic has many letters which is similar to the English and similar to the another language. Yeah. As we know that the Arabic has more than how many letters in the Arabic? حروف العربية. They have 26 letter. Yeah. So most of them is when compared to the English, it is not a big difference. And we have many words in the Arabic, so we can pronounce any one in the English. So the Arabic countries doesn't have this different or difficult to pronounce the word in English. However, I think somehow, as I discussed before, something like when you say think, they say think, because we have T in my country, not the. So they say think rather than say think. And they have sometimes to change some letter. But most likely, as I told you, think D like when we have the V, they said T because they know T is T. They didn't make it like the. This is, I think, maybe the main that I noticed before. Yeah.
The last question is, how do you think the influence of your native language affects the way English is pronounced?
I think
Affected.
sometimes it will be change the pronunciation and make it somehow is different from the native speaker, yeah. Because as I told you, sometimes we make the stress in the. Sometimes you have a word have two stress, yeah. Sometimes they make it one stress, and sometimes they make the stress in the different letter comparing to the native speaker. They make it, for example, speak. When you say speak, I think the stress will be in the P, but they make speak. They change the stress somehow. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the last question, and thank you for spending your time, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. No problem. If you need anything, I will be around. Or also, if you need another student from the Libyan, I can provide you with the details and contact number, and ask him about this interview.
Okay.